Hi Cancer, welcome to your May 2020 Tarot and Astrology reading. This is a little bit later than scheduled. Apologies for that. So Cancer, the skies as we lead through Taurus season have such an interesting Gemini theme because on the 11th, Mercury, Gemini's ruler, moves into Gemini and Venus is currently in Gemini. It will remain there until August 13th. And it is about to go retrograde on the 13th of May. So, there's a big focus on that for you. The Scorpio full moon in your romantic sector brought a lot of emotions as a water sign to the fore. And they may be healing you because there was a connection with Neptune being in Pisces. And of course, there was that opposition between the full moon and Mercury in Taurus. Now for you, to put it, to condense it rather than just throw these astrological terms at you, the full moon in Scorpio for you was very creative. And it may in some ways make you feel quite creative with the truth. Not to say that you're lying to anybody, but possibly that you may be overshadowed by feelings of fear or jealousy or inadequacy or quite simply not realizing that a lot of people kind of miss you. A lot of people want to know what's going on for you. I'm going to roll the astrological dice. A lot of people will understand the basics of astrology and that Cancer is a sign that is very associated with the home. The sign we have is Capricorn, we have the 8th house, and we have Neptune. So that Neptune aspect. Neptune being in a very philosophical side of the sky for you. So there's harmony there between your feelings and your philosophies, but I don't think you realize that people really want to talk to you. I don't think that you realize that people would miss you. I don't think that you realize that people really would like to hear your voice, like to see you, like to know what you're up to, like to know when you're back. We'd all like to know when everyone's back, but you know what I mean. They would like to know when they're going to hear from you next. There's people that miss you. That's all I want to say. So, Venus retrograde is a very feared aspect in astrology. The reason it's so feared is because people genuinely believe that at this time love will go haywire, everything will end, people will get drastically horrendous haircuts. You know, the clickbait astrology. And obviously there's the theme that exes return. You hear from people from the past. For you, Cancer, it's very much to do with forgiveness and healing and grieving and getting to the real reason, for you more than any other sign, the real reason that you love like you do. Devil. Where some vices lie, where you rely on certain things to ease the pain, where you allow certain types of behavior, where you are in denial about some aspect of yourself that really needs to be addressed because you cannot let it stand in the way of your happiness anymore. 10 of Cups. For some of you, you feel very, very, very needed and you don't like it. Unusual for you, but I think a lot of you feel very suffocated by how much people do need you or rely on you at the minute. That perception is somewhat intensified by the Scorpio Neptune energies. It's now fading a little bit. When we get to the new moon in your 12th house on the 22nd in Gemini season, Cancer, you have a real reset. 2 of Cups. Because you've pulled out some of the poison. You figured out where some of the problems are lying. You figured out where you're doing something emotionally that is not working for you. Or where you're allowing something that's not working for you. Even something as simple as the way people are talking to you. 9 of Pentacles. And in your relationships, you demand more respect and you demand a bit better than you're getting. Because even in the most healthy dynamic, we have problems, issues. The good sign of a healthy relationship is that people can talk through them, they listen to each other, they respect each other. The bad sign is when someone makes you feel like, when you're trying to explain your love language, that you're a bad person. Know the difference. Knight of Cups. Particularly if you're going into something new, Venus retrograde has a habit of skewing our perceptions. And if you're involved with an air sign or a water sign, you need to be speaking to them with a language that shows you really respect yourself. In fact, if you're communicating with anybody, be it family, be it work, 10 of Pentacles, 4 of Pentacles, you need to be establishing that you stand up for yourself. You need to be aware of what you're selling, what you're giving, what you're contributing, and you need to stand up for yourself. And as far as money goes, frivolous spending is not recommended, even if Amazon Prime is on your monthly expenditure. So, when we rolled the dice and got the 8th house, we think about the Aquarian energy, because Aquarius is, of course, 9 signs from you, and it represents for you your 8 signs from you, apologies. It represents your deeper side. It's why we often see Cancerians and Aquarius in very unusual dynamics, where they really learn something karmic from each other. If you're dealing with an Aquarius, I think the promise of a happily ever after and the confusion that surrounds the behaviour is quite simply to do with very different love languages, very different forms of expression, very different ways of dealing with emotions. Aquarians are not, contrary to popular belief, emotionally devoid. I think if you're dealing with an Aquarius, I think they want the same thing you do. And any uncertainty about it becomes very clear in Gemini season, because that's when they focus on their love life, on their romantic relationships. If they want the same end goal, that 10 of Pentacles energy that is long lasting, because let us not forget that they are fixed, then it will work out that way. If the Aquarian energy is Saturn, which has taken a breather temporarily from your relationship sign, it wants you to get very, very clear on where your need to be needed has gotten a little bit toxic, particularly in family dynamics. Because for some of you, you're starting to realize that the need to be needed was coming from an empty void. And at this degree, you cannot fill it. You cannot keep putting your emotions into a black hole of sorts. So, you're ready for something new. And a lot of you, with that 10 of Swords and the Fool energy, are finally done with a long spell of relationship karma or grief. You're finally coming out of it a more spiritual person, a more positive person. And that's not to say that positive people are self-indulgent, and it's not to say that they are naive. No, being positive most of the time is the goal for anybody, whether you're trying to manifest something or not. Being positive all the time is a rarity for people. It's okay to have these dips. It's okay to have these moments where you just feel angry at people, even if you love them a lot. Or it's okay to have these moments of self-reflection where you think, am I putting a lot of my time, a lot of my energy, and a lot of my love into something that's very unhealthy? And it could be a relationship, of course, but I think for a lot of you, it's a vice. I think a lot of you, it is an addiction. And I also think for a lot of you, it is a tragic sense of being unwanted by people, or being unworthy of something that would give you the ultimate satisfaction, which is where you're feeding a black hole. Again, you're putting a lot of your feelings and your treasures that you possess, your personal gifts, into a black hole. What's actually coming for you out of Taurus season is a sense of stability. And as you get into Gemini season and you're getting very comfortable with the energies, you're getting very intrigued by your own dream analysis, your subconscious, you're forgiving past indiscretions, you're forgiving yourself for something that you really don't like about you or that you've done, or you're healing from something that you quite simply shouldn't have had to go through. And you're seeing that you're still kind of connected to that fear, to that hurt. And it's just in the midst of everything at the minute, the feeling trapped, you can almost see it come out in different forms. And it looks very different to people that love you. To a lot of people that love you, it looks like you're unavailable to them. Like you've checked out. But you're just processing this intensity. Jupiter is going retrograde in your partnership sector, and that will not take away what it wants to bestow for you in your marriages and your love life, but it is making you feel, if you're connected to somebody, if you're married or in a live-in partnership, you are feeling quite financially concerned. But I don't think you have to worry too much, provided you're going to provided you don't spend very much money. If you're in a very tricky situation financially, which a lot of people are, know that towards the end of the month there's likely to be good news. Saturn going retrograde in the 8th could bring up some hidden resources that you couldn't have imagined. Some help, perhaps. Before I get into the extended, I'm going to draw some oracle cards. Priestess. Oh, and answer the call. What is your soul calling you to do? With Priestess and Answer the Call, the 12th house energy is very clear. You're more than ever in touch with your psychic side, your intuitive side, your receptive side. Much like Gemini, you're going through a period where you feel very much in touch with your emotions. And there are some things that, even as a water sign, have surprised you. And they will continue to surprise you over the next couple of months. As we lead up to your time, your season at the end of June, I want you to be very, very, very clear of where certain habits, certain relationships, or certain topics that are always on your mind or point of discussion are maybe limiting you a little bit. And you can figure out what to do about it in Taurus season, Gemini season. If you listen very clearly to your intuition, which is, for some of you, screaming quite loudly. And for those of you involved in something illegal, toxic, unhealthy, dangerous, what pays off financially in the short term will crumble you in the long term. Don't fall into that trap. What is slow and steady to come to you financially will be good. Anything else? Saturn in your 8th house is not somebody that you want to mess around with financially. It will teach you things. It will show you resources. And when we get to Leo season, you will have a much better picture of that. So hang tight, Cancer. I love you very much, and I will see you in the next set of readings. Bye, Cancer.